All right, now we're going to have a look at task 4, electronic music series task 4. So the first thing we're going to look at is going to be the questions, or the steps. So first of all, okay, locate and open Ableton Live, etc. Listen to the provided lead line and arpeggiator. So you've got to load up the task into Ableton Live, and we're going to have a listen to the lead line and the arpeggiator. So let's have a listen to them both on their own and with the drum beat and bass line and the pads. So here's our lead line. Here's our MIDI sequence. Okay. So you can see there, this is an 8-bar sequence. Okay, the length of it is 8 bars. If we have a look at all the notes, they're all on all the white keys. So this is telling me we're either in the key of C major or A minor. So when it comes time to producing your own, make sure you have a look at the circle of fifths or the key signature chart that you have available to you on OneNote, and make sure that you are familiar with the correct notes for C major. Let's go back and have a look at the arpeggiator now. So I'll just hit solo and listen to it. And once again, you can see E, G, and B, all the white keys, the natural notes. And you can see here, although we have a whole 2 bars of the chord being played, you can hear it's chopping. Okay, and that is because we're using our arpeggiator. So you may have seen the previous tutorial that I produced on the arpeggiator and using a delay. So it's using it the same way once again, and setting some parameters around that. So they've got our 16th note range there for our rate, or the speed at which it steps through the sequence. And you can see it's going ascending and descending over this synthesized sound. So let's get into making our own. So the first step, how do we make a good sounding lead line? So that's really tricky. What I think is always a good way to start is, first of all, make sure you're familiar with your key signature. So we're in C major. The next thing is really just trying to hum or sing something that works. Okay, so what I would recommend you do, and this might feel a bit strange to start with, but just play the bass, the pad sounds, and get a feel for it. Hum a melody, sing something. You don't have to do it out loud, but it helps, okay? And then from there, just find the keys. Find what you're singing. So I might start on the G, and I'll get my little preview. So I kind of just, in my head, I was sort of humming, I guess, and thinking about a melody that might work. And I had a bit of a descending sort of sound in my head. Okay. It's always something, another thing to think of is really keeping things simple. So don't try and make make it play too many notes. So just come up with a simple line over. I'm going to start with 4 bars. I know that the example was 8. Let's start with 4 and see how we go from there. So let's go. So I might just go back to the start of my G. And just go a full bar. Let's see how it sounds. All right, go for 2 beats and then move to my next note. All right, now I can hear, I'm going to just make that note start halfway through the second downbeat. All right. change the placement of that. So you're just going to go through and experiment note by note. That's not quite lined up. All right, let's have a listen. Okay. So it's starting to sound reasonably melodic. I'm not saying that what I'm going to show you is going to be fantastic or amazing. Start that on the downbeat actually. And we'll have some space, a bit of space between notes can really add a rhythmic element to it. Not quite working there. All right, so I've got the first part. Now I might start thinking about once again, start thinking about what you'll play next. So what can you hear? It's sort of this process, finding that melody, or we could think of it as a hook. It's kind of you've just got to be a bit creative and try out all different ideas. Okay, so let's just keep going. I think it's kind of sounding all right. So coming up with different rhythms. Now, I'm not really happy with the start, the rhythmic entry point of that. It just kind of sounds a bit off. So I'm just going to play around. Okay, so that's starting to get there. Okay, so all I've done really is thought about a melody that might work. So it's a very natural process. Something that I really recommend you doing is just hum or sing it if you want. Think of some words that you might have read something in the paper or on Facebook somewhere, that sort of a phrase or a bit of poetry that might have inspired you. Adding words to sound really can help you develop ideas. So this is a really creative process, okay? and what works for one person doesn't work for another. So just try a few different ways of approaching this with words, humming or singing, um, and then transferring what you're humming or singing onto our piano roll. And really, the only bit of theory that you should be considering at this point is keeping to the key signature that you've started with. So in this example, this working example, we are in the key of C major. Okay, so sticking to all the white keys is a must. Now you can see I've divided up my two melodic parts, and you can kind of almost think of the first part as the call, and then the second part as my response. So I would recommend you doing that. Sometimes it's hard to write a phrase or a musical idea over 4 whole bars or even 8 whole bars. So if you sort of halve it and work in 2 halves, coming up with a call and then a response to that idea, you'll find that it will have more cohesive sound to it. In the second part of the bar, or second half of the phrase, sometimes people just start meandering, they run out of ideas. So think of that second part as that response to the first idea. Okay, so moving on, we're going to have a look at our arpeggiator. Okay, so once again, our arpeggiator is running off our chords. So if we have a look at the chord here, okay, pretty straightforward. Now, I think we can do better than that. Let's have a look at the bass line. Let's take our idea from the bass line. This bass line. Okay, so we're going to take this bass line. I'm going to copy it, and let's go over to our arpeggiator track. I'm going to paste the bass line into this clip view, and let's find it now. All right, so it's over 2 bars. There we go. And I'm going to just delete that note at the end. Oh, delete the single note at the end. All right. And I'm also going to delete every second note. So select every second note, delete those, and just expand out our notes to the full length of the beat. So now let's just solo that. So we're working only on the arpeggiator. And to start with, let's just also turn our arpeggiator off so we can just hear the sound of the synthesizer. Okay, that's really low, so I'm going to select all of it, and we're going to take them up a couple octaves. So, whoops. Okay, so we started on our E, so I'm going to find an E a couple octaves up. There we go. All right, now we're going to go in thirds, sticking to our key signature. So we're going to go a G is a third above the E, and then third above the G is G, A, B. All right, there we go. So going in thirds above the G, G, A, B, again, and B, C, D. And then E, G, and B. And then the B is B, C, D, D, E, F. All right, now keeping to our chord progression where we want to create smooth part writing, let's drop down our highest notes. So this second chord, we'll drop the D down an octave. Okay, and then over here, the last chord, the B chord, let's drop these down an octave. There we go. All right, let's have a listen to how that sounds now. Okay, it sounds better with the F sharp. Okay, so that would suggest we're in the key of G major actually. Okay, let's go and add our arpeggiator to that sound. Now that sounds cool. All right, simple as that. Let's have a listen to it. starting to sound interesting. Um, that lead line, okay, what we want to do here is, I think, add a delay to that sound. I'm not really happy with how it's just sounding, so a delay is always a good thing to add a bit of interest and thicken up the sound a All right, cool. So just to add a little bit more interest to the melody or the lead line, once we've got our melodic idea, play around with the sounds of the actual synthesizer. I've got an auto filter at the end here, which is creating an interesting sound. Basically, is cutting out frequencies across the spectrum. Um, so let's just listen for that. I'll turn the simple delay off. What it's doing is automatically filtering it. So I've got the amount it's going to be heard and then the rate. So once again, like the arpeggiator, you can change the rate. So, and then phase and offset. Okay, just use your ears on some of that to see what you think. So let's listen to that now. All right. So there you have it. That's the task 4 all done. You've created your first lead line. You've applied some interesting effects to make it sound better. And and yeah, once again, the trick is to stay within your key and just get creative with it. Try out all the different opportunities, possibilities that you can. Uh, Good luck with it, guys. Enjoy.